When the London Eye opened in 2000, it was intended to be a temporary attraction. But it proved so popular that it became a permanent fixture on the skyline, making towering observation wheels the must-have landmark of the new millennium. Since then, more than 18 giant observation wheels have been built around the world. But despite the title of world's tallest changing hands 3 times, the actual height of the tallest wheel has only risen from 135 metres in 2000 to 169 metres in 2014, when Las Vegas completed the High Roller. Echoing the extreme height increase that saw it claim the title of world's tallest building, Dubai's latest record-breaking attraction takes engineering to the limits, with an observation wheel that's nearly double the size of the London Eye. Located just off the coast of Dubai Marina on the man-made Blue Waters Island, Ain Dubai, or the Eye of Dubai, is now officially the world's tallest and largest observation wheel, standing over 250 metres tall and with a capacity of 1,750 passengers at any one time. 82 metres taller than its predecessor, Ain Dubai represents the single greatest increase in height for this type of structure, something that could only have been achieved in a place like Dubai.
So in terms of structural challenges, I don't think you compare the Ain Dubai with any other wheels. And I probably would say that just because it is by far the largest. And without getting too technical, a lot of the stress relationships are a squared factor. So it's not just a linear proportion. So it gets twice as big, the stresses get twice as big. It's actually a squared relationship. And we were pushing the bounds of engineering on this wheel probably more than any other wheel has done before.
Originally set to stand 210 metres tall when it was first proposed back in 2013, the wheel was redesigned and scaled up to a size that would require 33% more steel than was used in the Eiffel Tower. Now, an artificial island, which is essentially compacted sand, might not seem like the best place to build something of this magnitude, but the reclaimed land itself doesn't actually bear much of the wheel's weight at all. Drilled to a depth of 35 metres, Ain Dubai's foundation piles extend 5 metres into solid bedrock, completely bypassing the reclaimed land. Blue Waters Island only provides lateral support for the structure. With a solid base to build on, the hard work really began with the 4 legs, each 126 metres in length. That's just 9 metres shorter than the London Eye's overall height. The biggest challenge for engineers didn't actually come from the legs' size, but from keeping them standing at a precise angle while the hub and spindle were fitted. They tie everything together and make the structure self-supporting.
There was approximately 4 weeks, 24/7 welding, just to get the legs joined to the spindle. We had the world's 3rd largest fixed crane, capable of lifting 3,000 tons. We then brought in the largest mobile crane, also capable of lifting 3,000 tons. And the reason we needed 6,000 tons of lifting capacity, it's all about the reach. So you've got to have the ability to lift 1,800 tons at a significant distance away because you've got the legs in the way and things like that. So that lifting capacity drops quite significantly, which is why we needed both cranes to achieve that lift.
Observation wheels might look lightweight and simple once they're built, but getting them to a place where they are self-supporting and won't buckle under their own weight is an extreme structural challenge. And the temporary support structure that makes it happen is like building a whole second wheel within the rim itself.
Once you've got a wheel that's fully built and it's a circle like a bike wheel, it's very strong. But the stage before that is you're trying to actually create that circle. That's the challenge. So we started building it up I refer to it as almost the Dairy Lee cheese box, as you might be familiar with, where you've got the eight triangles that go to make up the circle. And realistically, that's exactly how we constructed this wheel. And to do that, we had what we refer to as a temporary rigid spoke. So that was made out of structural steel rather than cables. Now the rim itself, because they were very slender, what we actually had to do is construct and convert the rim into a bridge. Only when we created a bridge structure could it then span between the 2 temporary spokes that we'd installed. We were then able to jack the first segment 100 meters into the air. That then allowed us to then lift in the second segment We then put in another rigid spoke, and we would then jack that around. Now, that sounds like a very quick exercise. Reality, that process took 3 to 4 weeks to actually go from installing to jacking it around to being ready to install the next piece.
Once the outer rim was complete, the supporting structure was removed by working backwards, progressively replacing the bulky structural steel elements with 192 pre-tensioned heavy-duty cables that contain enough wire to reach from Dubai to Cairo. That's 2,400 kilometers if you laid it all out flat, although no one ever does that.
Now, we had to be really careful at this point because we couldn't overstress the permanent spokes. So we went round and did a complete revolution of this, and again, each of those exercises, each of that removing the steel, putting in the new spoke cables, tensioning up the spoke cables, is taking about 3 weeks. You're almost into 6 months of work just to remove that steel work.
With virtually all of the Iron Dubai's structural integrity coming from the temporary framework up to this point, every element was painted white to match the colour of the finished wheel. That's not for aesthetic reasons, but to prevent the darker and lighter elements from expanding unevenly in the Dubai heat, a phenomenon that could cause the rim to warp and buckle. With its superstructure complete, the 48 passenger cabins were attached to the outside of the rim in a methodical pattern, all to keep the wheel as close to balanced as possible and to prevent its driving mechanism from becoming overstressed. Now, speaking of the driving mechanism, remember the jacking system that was part of the temporary works? Well, that's now a permanent and integral part of the structure, having been modified with 64 tyres positioned against the rim. They slowly rotate and push the wheel around using friction at a rate of 1 revolution every 38 minutes. Designed to carry up to 40 passengers at a time, each cabin is more than double the size and weight of those on the London Eye. Each is fitted with a driving mechanism that has the fairly fundamental job of rotating it at the same speed as the wheel but in the opposite direction, so that the floor stays horizontal no matter where it is in the rotation.
If all the passengers decide they wanted to go out to one side in a Ferris wheel, but as you might imagine, the gondola would all rotate and it would start tipping. This experience doesn't happen here because it's all driven, and still we have a perfectly horizontal floor for the passengers.
Originally set to open ahead of Expo 2020, like most things last year, that just didn't happen. Iron Dubai is now set to open on October 21st, although press and invited guests will have already been for a ride.
What was my proudest moment? There were many, just in terms of some of these engineering feats, and to have been intricately involved from the outset on it. However, probably the proudest was actually I got the opportunity to take some friends and family up on the wheel, to be able to share that experience with them, and that made me incredibly proud.
While some great observation wheels have failed to achieve the same popularity as the London Eye, Iron Dubai's incredible heights and unobstructed views will undoubtedly make it the newest landmark in what's now a city of engineering triumphs. If you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.